Hi, welcome to Apex Tai Chi. This is Dr. Jia. Do you have this type of feeling? Not dramatic exhaustion, just that quiet, persistent sense that something in you never quite lands. You sleep, but wake up already carrying. You sit still, but nothing in you actually stops. You get through the day and then you get through the next one. And somewhere along the way, you stop noticing that this is not how it is supposed to feel. The tension in your neck becomes background noise. The shallow breath, the mind that never fully arrives in the present moment becomes quietly your mind. And then one day, you realize you cannot remember the last time you felt genuinely at rest inside yourself. You want to change this, so you try harder. You add something, maybe a new routine, a different approach, more discipline, more effort. Because we are taught that effort is what has always worked. Effort is what you know. But here is what no one tells you. The harder you try to relax, the more effort enters to adapt. The more deliberately you pursue rest, the more the system organizes itself around the pursuit. You end up working hard at not working hard, reaching for ease while bracing against the very thing you are reaching for. This is not weakness. It is what happens when a body has spent years learning that effort is the only reliable answer. The system does not simply switch off because you have decided it should. It has to be shown gradually and patiently that something other than effort is safe. And that cannot happen through more trying. The ancient Taoist teachers understood something about this, that most modern approaches to health never quite reach. They did not say, work harder at becoming calm. They would say, stop adding what is not needed anymore, and what is natural will return on its own. Through non-doing, nothing is left undone. This is not passivity. It is far more sophisticated understanding of how change works inside a living body. You do not force the breath deeper. You remove what is preventing it from dropping. You do not manufacture steadiness. You release what has been disturbing it. You do not pursue ease. You stop filling every moment with the kind of effort that ease cannot survive inside. What empties receives. If the shoulders are still holding, they cannot receive ease. If the chest remains tight, the breath cannot fully arrive. If the whole system stays organized around readiness, then even when rest is available, the body does not know how to let it in. This is why so many people are not simply short of rest. Rest does not reach them. The habit of constant coping has become so familiar that stillness feels strange, even faintly threatening. The deepest fatigue does not come from what life demands. It comes from the body never quite leaving its state of preparation. This is why Tai Chi understands at its root. As an embodied practice, Tai Chi knows the body is brought into slow, deliberate movement, not to perform wellness, not to push through into calm, but to begin noticing where it is doing what it no longer needs to do, where it is still lifting when it could be resting, where it is still breathing against a moment that has already passed, where tension has stayed so long it has stopped announcing itself. And in that noticing, something begins to shift. Maybe not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, with patience, in one breath that drops lower than usual, in one movement that arrives without the string you were expecting, in one quiet moment when the body stops rushing ahead of itself and is simply here. For someone who has been carrying without knowing how much they were carrying, the moment is not small. That is where something real begins. Simply the beginning of less standing in the way. And from there, gradually, you begin to receive again. A breath that actually arrives, a steadiness that does not depend on tension to hold itself together. A kind of clarity that was always there, underneath the noise, waiting for enough space to surface. Real strength, it turns out, is often quieter than we imagined. It is not the ability to endure more. It appears when the body no longer needs to meet every moment with contraction. When you can remain present without remaining braced, when being steady no longer costs so much. Because only what is no longer overcrowded can truly receive. Change does not begin with adding more. Sometimes it begins when the body finally stops carrying what it was never meant to keep holding. What empties, receives.